Hello and welcome to the Wednesday Mega Group. My name is Linda Sylvester and I will be your host for the Mega Groups. Our group today is scheduled from 3 o'clock to 4:30 p.m. Before we begin, let's go over some information about this webinar. This group will operate in webinar format. You will not be able to turn on your video or microphone during this group. You were counted in attendance as soon as you logged in. You do not need to follow up with us regarding attendance. If you lose connection, try to rejoin as soon as possible. You will still receive your incentive even if you get disconnected from the webinar. All right. Let's begin, everyone. We have a very exciting group ahead of us. But before we start, let's go over today's goals. So, first we'll start with the opening ritual. Then we'll have program reminders, incentives, card activation, and schedule reminders. Then we'll have a showcase of work from your small groups. Then we'll have our Borough Storytelling Series Manhattan Film premiere, which I'm very excited for. We'll have a Q&A with members of the Borough Storytelling Manhattan team. We'll have an animation industry guest speaker, Yebin, and with us here today. And then we'll have our closing ritual. All right, it's time for me to introduce my co-host for the Mega Groups, Lisa Clementi.
Thanks, Lyndon. It's so great to be back. We had our spring break last week, so wishing everybody had a lovely break. How was your spring break, Lyndon?
Mine was cool. You know, I just relaxed. It was very relaxing.
Sounds lovely. But it's great to be back with everyone. So we're gonna jump in with our opening ritual. And here it is. As we're moving through our creative process, we are curious, what is one of your favorite styles of animation? There's so many out there. So you're going to be seeing a link in the chat. So go ahead and click on that link and you get to enter your response. And we're going to see this poll happen in real time. And yeah, what is one of your favorite styles of animation? There's so many out there. Well, I shouldn't say so many, but there's quite a bit. So we just took a few and put them into this poll. So super excited to see where folks are landing today. So we've got, of course, 2D animation, 3D animation, stop motion. There's puppet animation. Did you know that, Lyndon? Claymation.
Yes.
What else? There's paper cutout animation, whiteboard animation, and then of course other, because there's quite a few other techniques and styles out there. So love seeing this happen in live time.
It looks like 3D animation is at the top.
I wonder why. We're working in that realm right now.
Totally.
What would be one of your favorite styles, Lyndon?
Well, for me, I would say 2D animation. One of my favorites.
Yeah. And there's so many, it's like the umbrella too. There's so many other styles that come out of 2D animation.
Yeah. I have a lot of favorites though. More than one.
More than one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely looks like our group here today is landing on 3D animation with a kind of a, I guess the next in line would be 2D animation. Let's see. I was going to say I'm into claymation and stop motion, so it seems like there's some folks out there that are also digging that style. A little love for puppet animation, little love for paper cutout animation.
Whiteboard animation has 2, and then other has 6.
Yeah, they're, like I said, there's a few others out there.
Yeah.
Loving that the majority here is landing on 3D animation, all that we're working on right now.
Yeah, totally. It's cool.
Well, thanks everyone for participating in our opening ritual here today. So super excited to be back here with you all. We're going to share some of our program announcements. So we'll start with our program reminders about our incentives. So if you have not yet received your incentive card, please email incentives@theanimationproject.org. And if you registered for the program late, your card is definitely on the way, but it's gonna be delayed. So funds for groups attendant from February 22nd to March 11th, which includes the orientation, were loaded onto your card on March 17th. And funds for groups attended from March 15th to April 8th will be loaded on your card on April 14th. So that's just coming up next week. And payment for any makeup classes will not be loaded on your card until May 5th. And you received an email with the activation codes and instructions back on March 10th. But you may also look up your activation code on the TAP website using the password program1. All right. So activating your card, there's an online activation. You do not need your activation code for that. But when you're doing your phone activation, you do need that activation code provided to you. So just a reminder, this code is not your social security number or any number related to your social security number. This is just a randomly generated 4-digit code unique to your card. So when you call to activate your card, you will need that activation code.
And now it's time to go over schedule reminders. So our last mega group will be Wednesday, April 21st. And for small group programming, it'll continue through April 29th. And we are excited to work with you through April, and we will miss you when this program ends.
Oh yeah, that's an understatement, Lyndon. We will definitely miss each and every one of you. So we're going to savor the month of April.
Yes, definitely.
All right. So what if you missed orientation or you happen to miss a group, or you still have some incentive questions? Our website is the best resource. It's www.theanimationproject.org. And right now in the chat, you'll see a link to our FAQ page. So there you will find some immediate answers to your questions.
And who to contact. So if you have any questions about incentives, you can contact incentives@theanimationproject.org. If you have any questions about scheduling or attendance, you can contact program1@theanimationproject.org. If you want to make up a session, you can contact program1@theanimationproject.org.
Great, thanks, Lyndon. So before we get to the showcase, just wanted to share that this week, we will not have a visitor for Friends of TAP, but we hope to connect you with more Friends of TAP in the coming mega groups. But now, drum roll please, on to the showcase.
Yes.
Wow, amazing work, everyone.
Yeah, those were some amazing characters. I really, really liked them a lot. I loved like all of the everything down to like the little details. It was super cool. All right. Now it's time for us to transition to our Manhattan Boys Horror Storytelling Series premiere.
And clear of the closed doors, please.
Wow, that was really amazing. I can definitely add that to my list of favorites. Great job, everyone. That was really awesome. So, before we transition to our Q&A with the Manhattan Barbie story tellers, I'd like to read this quote from one of our participants. The Borough Storytelling series has been so meaningful because we discuss and shed light on important issues in the city throughout the storyline we create. Due to time limit of the animation, there were a lot of important issues in the city that were not able to be included in the main plot. For this reason, we thought of raising awareness through the format of a poster to combat the time limit constraint. Since we only get a month to work on this, I would like to commend our team's teamwork. We're always respectful of each other's thoughts and try to incorporate everyone's ideas in the animation. From Carolina. And now I'd like to invite Abby, Kiara, Lord, Nyla, Sarah, and Ellen to join me for our Q&A.
Hello, hi, I'm Kiara.
Hi, I'm Lord.
Hey everyone, I'm Nyla.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
Hi, I'm Ellen. So I'm wondering if we can start. We've got about 10 or 15 minutes for our Q&A together. I'm wondering, Lord, Kiara, is there anything you want to share with the audience about your experience of making this animation?
Oh, so honestly, it was really fun, and watching and hearing Nyla's process, it really wanted, like, it kind of made me research more about 3D animation as well. And I really appreciated that impromptu like lesson that Nyla did. It was very fun. Also, the whole graffiti being like not being seen as like art is kind of the basis of, or one of the reasons why we decided to have graffiti in this animation, because graffiti is art. It's how many others express themselves, and it's kind of sad to see it being targeted as vandalism when it's how people can bring out their voices and messages. And as you can see, the art that everyone participated in, they had different messages, such as like Black Lives Matter, homelessness. There was also like fun ways to see how people view Manhattan with the food. There's bacon, egg, and cheese in there. The skyline, and it's a great thing because every time you come into Manhattan, you feel part of yourself like living in that city, and you make your mark there. And so it's quite an amazing thing.
As for myself, I also agree. Like learning, like just seeing the process for the 3D animation, really, was definitely tons of fun. Tons of fun, because all of us together as a group got to decide like which character dresses in what way, or what were even the species of the character, which you know definitely, there were definitely like a lot of interesting ideas for additional like animals in the video, which I would have loved to see. But a part of me just enjoyed just like seeing the what kind of dichotomy that people could like bring to seeing the pigeon and the rats interact, and just like seeing how it's all made was very interesting for me. And I also agree that hopefully this shines a little bit of light on the concept of graffiti, because it's not, because we pretty much like see it everywhere, like in any form of media, or it be on TV or movies, that graffiti is somehow a crime that shouldn't be done, and that's just nothing but garbage. But it's really just another form of art, in my opinion, and it's just another way for people to express themselves or send a message. Like it's not that different than the paintings that we see in museums, and I really think that it was very enjoyable to be within the group to make the various graffiti pieces for this video, because just so many fun ideas were being thrown around for the designs, and I just loved all of them. And hopefully this like scratches the surface a little bit, in my opinion. That's pretty much it.
Thank you both for sharing. It's so incredible to hear about your process and what it was like for you to be involved. And I know that someone from our audience also mentioned that they view graffiti as art as well. And I'm seeing here in the question and answer box that Eric has a question. Was the art that you made created on paper? Or how did you make the art pieces that you both worked on in the animation?
Well, for me, it was digital. So I had to first research how I could show show awareness for homelessness, and I saw that there was actually a color for the social awareness for homelessness, and it was purple. So from then, I just chose a very splash looking brush on this program I use, this Clip Paint Studio. Sometimes there is deals off, so you can buy it for like cheaper than the price that it has, and I recommend for waiting for the sale. But yeah, I go for digitally first.
For me, it was just pen. It was just pen and paper. It saved a lot of time, and it's just kind of like always been like my second tool in the toolbox. So that's pretty much it.
And I do want to speak a little on the artwork. So everyone had like their own preferred method of art. So some people did digital, some people did traditional, but they were all sent to me, digitally. And some artwork pieces you saw were like kind of blended in with the brick wall. Some of them were just like kind of flat images, just depending on which looked better as like a brick wall art or just like a regular art. So a bunch of various different mediums that were used, but they're all digitally imposed onto the brick wall.
Thanks for sharing that. I'm wondering if anyone else on the TAP team has a question for Lord and Kiara, or if anyone else in the audience wants to submit a question through the Q&A feature. We have a couple more minutes left, and we'd love to hear from you.
So I actually have a question. I actually want to know what was the hardest part of the process for both of them?
Well, for me, I'd say actually getting up and doing it. Yeah. I wouldn't say that I'm a lazy person, but it takes a bit for me to like say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I sit there at my computer. I'm just like, and I blank out, and I'm just like, what am I supposed to do? But usually a good warm up sketch or whatever, you just power through it, and it goes naturally at that point.
For me, it was just basically like the hardest part for me was, I guess, like deciding on which designs to send in for the project, because again, like it's kind of difficult for me to just like pick which is the best, because I just enjoyed making them, being part of the process. So that's pretty much the hardest part for me.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that.
I'm noticing we're getting a couple of cool questions in the chat. How did you get into this type of art? And if you were to choose another plot storyline for the animation, what would you have chosen?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, so we have someone who wants to know how you got into the type of art that you do, and also if you wanted to choose another plot or storyline for the animation, what would you have chosen?
So actually I got it from my for animation. It was from Tom and Jerry cartoons, and I would stay up all night just like watching Tom and Jerry with my older cousin, and we would just start like playing with the screen itself, because there's this one episode where Jerry is invisible, and I thought that was so funny, and I would pretend to be Jerry, just blowing milk into Tom's face. And art in general, I got into it from my dad actually, and he would draw these orca whales, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever until I could draw better than him. But other than that, it was like a fun family bonding moment for me with art. And the choose another plot storyline. Actually, I quite like and prefer the storyline. I think it's I the way it organically with the group members. I liked how it became itself. And my favorite part about it is how we all contributed with our art, the little details we would splash in there with the clothing. Like Nyla didn't have to do all that, but she did. She really did. She gave the mouse like Tim's a little earring. That's so much, and even gave a tie to like adding character to these animals. And it's
The Tims were really fun to make.
I mean, for me, it was definitely a mixture as well of like watching tons and just tons of Disney and and Looney Tune cartoons, and for 2D animation, because I just love the just exaggerated emotions that the characters would go through each scene. And I just found, even through storytelling, even with some of the characters that don't even have voices, you could just tell what they're going through the body language that they use to express themselves. And for in general, in terms of animation, I was introduced to it by my father when I was very, very little. Like, he basically just like put a pencil in my hand and taught me how to draw a circle, and from there, it just kind of latched on, and he continued to teach me how to draw and animate until his unfortunate passing, and I continued on my own until now into this group, and found fellow art lovers, and I hope to continue on from there.
Thank you all for sharing that. I'm looking at the clock and time really does fly, but I'm wondering, Kiara and Lord, if there was one thought you wanted to leave the participants in this mega group with today, what would that be?
never stop drawing. Never, ever. Don't ever stop. Even if you feel like, oh, there's no point, I'm never gonna make money off of this, whatever. If you truly enjoy this, is this something that you wanted since childhood? Keep going for it. Surround yourself with friends that support you on this endeavor. And if there's people that are bringing you down, then like, who cares? This is your life. You're the judge. You're the jury. you make it yourself, you know.
Exactly. Like for me, it's like fairly. For me, it's like my father used to say like never stop wasting paper when it came to drawing. But I'm going to update it little bit. If you're a person, doesn't matter where you come from or how old you are. If you truly enjoy art, like genuinely enjoy art through its storytelling, its exaggerations, or its realism or surrealism, doesn't matter. If you just enjoy just the concept of expressing yourself without even a single care in the world, don't stop. Just keep moving forward. Because despite all the technology we have nowadays, like if you truly enjoy art and you truly love doing it, whether it be with critics and awards and all, then doing art itself is like the toy that never breaks, and you should never let it go.
Wow. Such incredible words of wisdom. I'm going to take those words with me today as I go for sure. I want to thank you both, Kiara and Lord, and to all of our TAP staff, Lyndon, Sarah, and Nyla. Thank you so much for sharing this space. And now I think we're going to transition it back to Lyndon for what's next in our mega group today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So thank you so much, Manhattan Borough Storytelling Team. It was really amazing to hear all of the feedback and also all of your wise words. I am going to take all of that wisdom and keep it here with me. And since we're going to move forward, it's time for me to actually introduce Kat Golaski, TAP's Industry Outreach Advisor.
Hello there, everyone. Thank you so much, Lyndon. Kara and Lord, thank you so much for sharing your insight. I, much like Ellen, will be taking this important bits of wisdom and will be, working with them myself. It is very much my pleasure to introduce the lovely Yevon An. She is a talented compositor working for Blacksmith VFX, and pretty thrilled to have her here because she's also, as a side note, one of my former students from the School of Visual Arts. So it's been such a pleasure seeing her career evolve throughout the past few years. I say evolve, but I should probably use the words skyrocket. And Yevon, if you don't mind, I'd love for you to just sort of share your story as to how you got into the industry and maybe share within this Zoom room a little bit about yourself.
Hi, thanks for the introduction. I'm Yevon. I'm a VFX compositor working at Blacksmith VFX. And how I got into the industry is, well, first I went to school to study visual effects, and I graduated and I made a reel from my senior thesis film. I sent those reel to I sent my senior thesis reel to every company in New York City, and luckily I found a place who accepted me as a junior compositor, and actually staying at the same company where I started, and I've learned so much from it, and I'm hoping to grow more in the future.
And I'm pretty confident that you will grow quite exponentially, much like we've seen in just a short period of time. So thank you for sharing your story. I'm conscious that you actually were referencing a video with us on compositing. You were going to sort of share within this space what it means to be a compositor, and you'd sent me a fantastic link and was quite curious as to whether or not perhaps you could share that with the group.
Yes.
And I know this share screen situation.
I'll share screen. Okay, share.
So we'll hop to that shortly. Um, Perfect. All right.
Can you guys see it? Okay.
We can absolutely see. And I see the link for VFX Games, The Art of Compositing. Perfect. Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm also a particularly big fan of this video. Although I think we're having a little bit of trouble with the sound. Stand by. I'm going to sort of liaise with our colleagues to populate the space or our little chat with this link of yours so that all of our participants can get a sense of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yevon, I think you may just need to reshare the screen with clicking a little button that shares your computer sound before you hit the share button. So if you stop your screen share and then restart it, you'll see in that pop-up window where you select the screen to share, there will be a little checkbox that says share computer sound.
Oh, yes, exactly.
So if you can click stop the share.
Is it still sharing the screen? Oh, wait, I see. Stop share.
Great.
Yes.
And then if you hit the share screen button again,
Mm-hmm.
in the lower left
share,
corner. Yep.
Share computer sound. Got it.
Thank you.
Yes.
In today's films, it is possible to create almost anything. But the work is definitely not that easy. It includes many hours of attention to small detail, lots of creativity, and a high level of skill. This world is called VFX and is built from many parts in a long pipeline that creates something amazing. And that's what you see on the big screen. The last role in this long pipeline of visual effects is called digital compositing, which is a creative process of assembling filmed and rendered elements from multiple sources to create a final lifelike illusion. What is that, you ask? Let me show you. It's a profession that includes many skills such as rotoscoping, which separates the foreground from the background, and there are all kinds of techniques to accomplish it. In films, it is common to use a blue or green screen to easily remove the background from behind the actors, and that is called keying. And by doing that, we can create a more realistic background behind the actor. Tracking is another side of the story, and it is very important to know how to do well. There's 2D tracking, and there's 3D tracking, which recreates the exact movement of the camera. Another big part of this job is to remove objects, cables, and trackers, and paint them out and insert something else instead. And, of course, there is computer-generated elements, or, in short, CG compositing. But my friends always say VFX looks fake.
Yevon, thank you so much for sharing that. That's incredibly insightful. So with the video that you've shared and with the above in mind, you know, what does your life look like as a compositor? You've obviously shared what it, you know, from a bigger picture perspective, what it looks like. And thank you. Our colleagues are kindly sharing the link to the compositing video that you shared. So please add that to your respective browsers. So what does your day look like in you know, as a compositor?
What does my day look like in my company, I would say, is usually I go to work. Everyone gets assigned to different VFX projects. And as a compositor, we are responsible for the 2D aspects of it, like tracking, CG integration, rotoscoping, keying, and we just make the shots look better.
Very nicely said. Is there a particular project that you've worked on that you're most excited about sharing with the group, or is there something that you're most proud of? Or
Well, there's a project that we just finished like a week ago that came out yesterday. If you guys wanted to see.
oh, please, that would be very exciting. I think
Yeah.
I know the one that you're referring to.
Yes, it's for Zillow, and
Perfect. You're sharing your
yeah. Wait, not this.
I know. I don't want to move either, kid.
Please, can we just go home? Who's that? Someone here. I guess this is it. Hey, new neighbor.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's quite heartwarming. What did you most enjoy about that particular project, or your contributions to it?
Well, for this particular project, I was involved more from the beginning till the end, because usually compositors, they're just assigned with shots, and each shot would have specific notes, like remove A, B, C, put in A, B, C, blah, blah. But for this one, the director had a sketch of the world, that the girl's imaginative world we just saw. And although he has sketches, he couldn't quite get the image to, how do I say it? He couldn't quite bring it to life.
Mhm.
But then it's me and my other compositor, Ben, we jumped on in the beginning part of the project and visualized some of the shots and sketches he made it into a life as some concept arts. And surprisingly, when they actually went on a shoot, they shot certain scenes exactly as our concept arts, and that was it was a first time experience for me, and it felt so good. And
I can imagine.
yeah, and after we got all the shots, we get the edits, we worked our ass off and making the world look realistic and good. And there we have it, the final project.
No, it's absolutely wonderful, and it's absolutely gorgeous. We're getting a lot of really positive feedback in the chat. Of Jeremy was saying that was so dope. That's often one of my favorite expressions. I absolutely 100% agree.
Thank you.
Wanted to get a sense from your perspective, because I know that you have kindly brought up your demo reel just to showcase how your career can evolve. You worked on this incredibly gorgeous piece, with your colleagues in this incredible space. With that said, though, you obviously did create such an incredible reel to be brought into Blacksmith and brought into the studio itself. Would you feel comfortable sharing that with the group?
Yes, my student reel.
Yes.
Yes, I can share it.
Which I saw a little bit before you graduated, from what I remember.
Yes. Let me pull up my website and I'll share the screen share.
Perfect, thank you. And as my colleagues were saying, for those of you who have questions, please feel free to populate that in the Q&A, and I'll try to ensure that Yevon can address them for you. Just trying to make sure I've not missed any of your questions.
Anyway, see it.
We can see your reel. I'm sure you're very excited to revisit it. I know we were chatting about that earlier.
Yes, I was talking to Kat that I should have updated my reel because I haven't done it in 3 years.
It's kind of nice to see this all come to fruition, though, and to see these early stages.
Yes. So all these shots are from my senior thesis film, and I made a breakdown for it.
Its own. I'm still quite proud of it for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really nice work. And I remember as a recruiter at the Mill, when I saw your reel for the first time, it was really exciting to see that your breakdowns. I think that's something that, as from the talent acquisition perspective, we really like to see more of those. So I appreciate your sharing that. Amanda actually has a really, really great question, which actually is something I wanted to touch upon. Is there any type of advice that you wish to give on the process for pursuing VFX? What are some advice, or what are some suggestions you have for those who'd like to pursue VFX as a career?
VFX in general, or as like a composite?
Yeah, let's say specific to that of a compositor. I think that might be a better way to address it, because you can speak to it so exactly.
Any advice? How do I say it? Well, technique wise, you would want to have a really good observing skill, because as a compositor, you're dealing with realistic images, and you are editing the video to look like another realistic images. So colors, contrast, the sharpness of the image, and the relation of the images within the frame. These all matter. And if I'm giving you an example of what I'm talking about, let's say you're putting a spoon into a footage that has a table.
Be very, very specific. That's very helpful.
Okay. So you get an image of a spoon from the internet and you're just putting it on your video. Is the spoon too red, too blue? Adjust the color accordingly and analyze the footage. Like, where is the spoon going to be? Is it on the same plane as the sharpest image of, of the video, or is it gonna be farther away from it, so it's gonna be defocused? And if you have a reference, for example, there's already a fork on the table and it's casting a shadow on the table. When you put the spoon on, you would also want to make a shadow of it, right? And you compare the real shadow of the fork and you'll just imitate the shadow of the spoon from it. And yeah, I mean, that was a very specific example.
No, that's perfect. That's absolutely great. I think that's a
But-
wonderful way to break it down.
But there was a technical aspect of it, but I think this is for more long-term stuff. This is also what I'm trying to improve upon too, is that you would want to study photography and the real world around you, like how you would study those in paintings and drawings. Because after all, you would want to make a really nice looking image and like that looks real and pretty. And like studying photography, you would learn the compositions, colors, lights, and values. And from real world, you know how like the light interacts with different objects, like how different density of the air affects the, let's say, like the background, how it affects how the background image looks like. Clear day, foggy day. It all comes from that basic study, like the real world around you.
No, it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
the real world is constantly a reference. And I think, to your point, referencing photography is so important, particularly when you want to pursue a role in as a compositor.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, what are some of the bigger challenges you face within your role as a compositor? Or have you worked on a specific project that was a massive challenge, and how did you perhaps like work through it, as it were?
Yes, actually, there was a project that we shot all the footage from the desert, and we had to make it look like a moon surface environment. And obviously you cannot shoot something on the moon unless
Although that would
you're
be
an
fun.
unless you're an astronaut. So the basic challenge for that project was to replace everything besides we had a real moon buggy in the desert. So that's shot, but that would be the only thing that's gonna be remaining in the final composite.
Mhm.
So besides one car, the whole environment needed to be changed, like the sky, the ground plane, the moon buggies on, fake smokes, fake lens flares, everything. And it was a really big project, and I haven't really done that kind of big project recently. And so what we did was to we gathered all like photographies from NASA of the, so we gathered all the images that NASA took of the moon. And just like I said before, we studied it, like since there's no air in the moon, the shadows were more darker, sharper, and you wouldn't get any haze from the air if you look at the background, like a far away object in the moon, something like that. So we basically analyzed the physics of the moon and then try to replicate that on the shot with our CG artists. So they would model a moon surface and smoke particles they made, and we had, as a compositor, we had to put all those things together. And of course, like first and second pass, it wouldn't look right, because it's the first pass and we never really shot on the moon. Like something would feel so artificial and off about it. And like how I overcame the challenge was to keep referencing the real life moon photos. And also, if I couldn't get it, if I couldn't quite get there myself, I would always ask someone who had more experience than me. And they would look at my work and point out stuff that I can improve on, or they would explain stuff that that would like sorry.
No,
They would
you're great. You're great. Keep playing.
Like, so, and they would sometimes teach me technical stuff, like how to make certain lens flares, or how to fix some of the CG flickerings, and those technical and artistic feedback. I would take on those technical and artistic feedback, and after I worked on it for a while, it would look much better and look nice and realistic.
And you work through those challenges beautifully. You and I actually had some conversations earlier about, some thoughts and comments that you'd like to make about the industry. Something that you did say to me earlier was something along the lines of, you kind of wanted to address a little bit about how it's sort of like a merit-based industry, after all, you were saying.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I did say it, because
about your experience and in terms of getting connections and finding those mentors out there.
Yes, for me, I studied VFX at school, and I already had some connections to like teachers who were already in the industry, and it's a really good thing to have. But I know not everyone has it, not everyone has the resource, or not everyone knows like someone in the industry, something like that.
And such, yeah.
But even though you don't have any, how to say, pre-existing connections or something like that, what I realized was that it's, after all, based on how good you are and how much effort you're putting to your work to get a step into the industry. Because I didn't have any internship experience before graduating, and I didn't, the company I'm currently in, I genuinely didn't know anyone working here, but I know what I did was I put time and effort to make my thesis, senior thesis, look good. And I think even I think just considering the fact that they saw my work and called me in proves that if you show good, genuine, hard work, it's gonna pay off.
No, it's very, very nicely said, and it did pay off. I think I'm conscious of a lot of folks in the industry who had seen your reel, some of whom I know quite well, and they really thought everything from your breakdowns to the shots that you shared within your demo reel, they were so accurate and obviously represented your skills and your strengths, and the work spoke for itself. Really, is what it comes down to.
Thank you.
Something else that we touched upon and that you wanted to sort of discuss was the idea of asking questions on a regular basis. That was something that
Yes.
we sort of had a little back and forth about how important it is to really not feel like any question is too silly. Could you perhaps speak a little bit to that?
Yes, and I'm sure everyone else says this too, but there is no stupid question. And how I could grow as a compositor even after graduating was through asking questions, and how I got my earlier days mentor was through asking questions. Because if you don't ask, you can get a certain amount of resource from people or tutorials online, but that's it. I mean, it's totally fine, but if you really want to know more or personally ask someone in the industry about and just anything that you're curious about, just reach out. And unless they're too busy or like they don't have time to talk to anyone or something like that, people will generally try to help you, because it's such a small industry, and the only way we can progress is just helping each other. And even just doing the VFX job, the more you work better with other people, the easier and the better the job will be. And
You were also mentioning that your senior year thesis advisor was of such support to you.
Yes.
From in terms of helping you out and sort of supporting you on the technical questions and on the creative questions when it came to your thesis, etc. And I think that that really highlights the importance of having a mentor in the industry, and really connecting with fellow professionals within the world that we're in. For those of you who are within the Zoom room space, I think it's important whenever possible, even if you admire someone's work over LinkedIn and can track them down and reach out to them and celebrate their work. And if it's, of interest to you in terms of pursuing your careers into that in that direction, there are really great opportunities out there with which to get a mentor to help support you. And I think that's really, really important.
Oh, yes. Oh, so how I got my really how I got my
Oh, sorry, you cut out briefly, but I don't know if it's my computer.
Sorry? Is it oh, is it disconnecting?
Maybe it could be my computer. So what were you asking?
No, how I got my mentor was literally through LinkedIn. Just messaged her because I was in a team of 3 and we needed someone to help out with the project compositing wise, because we as 3 students couldn't figure it out, like couldn't figure something out by ourselves. And luckily we found someone. She said yes, and she would occasionally come to school and help us out. But what I admired in her the most was that not only like for the school project or for the technical help, she tried to help me with stuff that's outside my schoolwork. And like I didn't even ask for it, but she invited me to those like industry events and introduced me to her coworkers. And yeah, and just like treated us. And whenever I had a question that wasn't even related to compositing, she would just I don't know, she would just help me out. And that's when I realized I want to be like her, you know,
Oh, that's
like
wonderful.
be good at jobs. And like also if I see someone who's trying, how to say, trying to be better at something, who needs, or just someone who needs help, like I don't know, I want to be like her and just help them out.
No, but I think that's wonderful. You know, you
Yeah.
end up paying it forward. You know, you highlighted a very interesting point. You know, how do you want to evolve your career? Like, what's your next big goal? You know, I think it's always important, even at the more senior level, to have like these important goals as you evolve. You know, as artists. You know, what do you see next for yourself? What would you like to be doing more of as you become more senior?
Become more senior. Yes. Well, I said earlier about the Compositors Day, but it's mainly for like regular compositors. There are different levels to it. So if you become a lead compositor, you wouldn't just work on your assigned shots, but you would also oversee the whole project and just manage the compositing team. I guess that's what I'm working on right now. To be like my lead. Or there's also a VFX supervisor who goes on set and actually like supervise all the VFX shots that's needed for the project. And it's really important because if you don't get it right when they're actually shooting, it would be such a pain to actually fix it afterwards. But that VFX supervisor, they make it right. They just try to make it right on the set and makes everyone's life easier.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah, no, I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, so that's my another goal. That's it.
No, I think that's
Yeah.
wonderful. I think VFX supervisor sounds like a really natural next step for you, which is exciting. Alani in our group was asking, what is your favorite part of your job? What do you most enjoy about your job?
Oh,
that's a great question.
It is a great. Oh well, personally, I feel really great when I see the final project. Like you get paid off with hours and hours and hours of hard work, hours and effort. And it looked like this before, now it looks like this, and it looks good. And I think just bringing something that didn't exist before into a certain specific image that everyone can watch, it's really rewarding.
That sounds wonderful, and I appreciate you sharing that. With that in mind, you did say that you put in a lot of hours as a compositor.
Yes.
Do you have any hobbies or external things that you do to keep yourself feeling sane or normal or keeping a balance in your life?
Yes, it's important to not just work all day.
Talk about that in class too.
yeah, yeah. Well, these days I try to pick up new hobbies. So I know I tried to play a guitar like 10 years ago, but I didn't really continue on it. But like actually a week before or two, I bought my guitar again, and
Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah, I just started practicing. And
What kind of music are you playing, or what kind of songs?
not any specific songs yet, but just practicing chords now. And I think it's important to get some hobby that doesn't involve watching a monitor, because that's what I do every day. And before trying to pick up a new hobby, what I would do was go home and watch a TV, which is also staring at the monitor. I think it's okay in moderation, but just I didn't want to do it all day.
I can definitely understand that.
Yeah.
That's something it's good to rest the eyes a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kwame's wondering, what's the hardest part of your work, or what's the hardest part of your job? So I already spoke to you earlier about like one of the more challenging projects that you've worked through or worked on rather. And Kwame's just wondering, what's the most difficult part of your job?
Most difficult part. Well,
maybe there isn't a difficult part as well.
Well, there definitely is. Well, part of it is what I mentioned earlier, and other times when I felt difficult was actually when the teamwork was getting harder, like especially when the pandemic started last year. We all had to switch to remote work, and the communication, everything was lagging, and somebody would say something and other person would understand it differently, so the work would lag on. Yeah, something like that, and it would result in
confusion
confusion and sometimes overtime. So
I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, I think during the pandemic, especially at the beginning part of the pandemic, so many studios were trying to figure out how best to work across the group and communicate amongst amongst each other. It probably didn't help sometimes that so many other studios were in different time zones, and yeah, there was just a lot going on.
Yes.
Axel's wondering, would you ever, or have you ever considered ever changing careers? I know you're at an early stage within your career, but has there ever been a time when you thought about changing careers?
For now, I'm pretty happy, but I also want to share that when I went to school, I wasn't majoring in visual effects. So I already changed. I tried to change my career once when I was in college.
What were you studying initially before you changed your
college? I was studying illustration. And I think I realized that I loved making, how do I say it? Well, Inception it's my biggest inspiration. And I always wanted to like know how it works or how I make those stuff.
Of course.
And
breakdown.
My interest grew over just drawing and painting, and I had an opportunity. The college gave me an opportunity to actually learn how those work, and I just took it.
Oh, that's wonderful. No, I appreciate you sharing that. I didn't know that Inception was one of your top films or top points of reference.
Yes, it is.
Well, listen, I wanted to see, as we sort of wrap up within the space, what's some advice that you might have for our participants in entering the industry? Doesn't have to be technical advice, just more so maybe, what are some words of wisdom that you could offer them? Now, to to be fair, you've offered them a lot of wisdom throughout this conversation and a lot of feedback and a lot of suggestions and advice, but what are some things that resonate with you as an artist as you've developed your career that you think might benefit our participants within the Zoom?
I'd like to say, well, as I said before, always ask questions and ask for more opportunities, because I mean, it could eventually come to you, but if you ask for it, you'll get it earlier and you'll get it better. And please don't give up on whatever you're doing, because even if you feel uncertain about it, I also felt uncertain about like pursuing the career when I was about to graduate. Like, did I do well? Like, can I even get a job, etc. But thinking back, I'm really glad I didn't give up on anything. And if you don't give up on it, at least, how do I say, if you finish something, even if it's not your, even if it wasn't your ideal choice, you can move on to other stuff without any regrets.
That's very, very nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. I mean, it's been such a pleasure to have you here within the space, and it's been such a long time since I've seen you face to face like this.
I
Very,
know.
very special. And it's, once again, like I said, as we introduced you within this program, this wonderful program, that it's been such a pleasure seeing your career evolve so much. You've done such great work, and I look forward to seeing what comes next for you.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you so much, Evan. And then thank you to everyone within the space who has been listening to us today. And we look forward to staying in touch with you. And I will pass the baton, as I like to say, back to Lyndon and to Lisa. So have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday afternoons.
Wow, thank you so much, Yevon. It's so amazing to hear all about being an VFX compositor, and definitely taking away, always asking questions and never giving up. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Yevon. It was amazing to hear all of your amazing wisdom and everything. It was great overall. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Of course.
So here we are, Lyndon. We're at the end of our time together already.
Yeah.
And in our small groups, we've been working on moving our characters and posing them and all sorts of movement. So I thought, to close out today's group, on the count of 3, we can all strike our own signature pose, a pose that represents us. So are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Nice pose, Lyndon. Mine's going off the camera, but I'm in there.
I see you. I see you.
Thank you, everyone, for striking your signature pose with us today. Always a joy to be here in this webinar with you all.
Yes, yes. It's always a group. I said always a group. It's always a pleasure to be here in these mega groups. But as always, we've come to the end of today's mega group. So please remember to stay connected with us through our website as well as our social media. And again, thank you for joining the Made in New York Animation Project mega group.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for coming.